Protein synthesis is the last step of central dogma, where the transcribed mRNA from the information present on mRNA, the proteins are synthesized. So it's actually translating the information present in the DNA into protein. So that is why the process named as translation. Now, before we begin with the actual process, we should know something about what is gene, what is protein, etc., and what are the functions of these two things. So, gene, as we have discussed in replication and transcription, gene is a sequence of nucleotide in DNA that is going to code for a particular protein. And proteins, we all know, you must have done protein in detail. So you know what is proteins. Proteins actually, they drive cellular processes, they determine physical characteristic. They are also responsible for manifesting genetic disorder by the presence and absence of these proteins. So basically, they have very varied function, dynamic as well as static. So dynamic are enzymes, hormones, etc., and static are you have structural proteins. Okay. And so you have done enough of protein because you've done more biomolecule proteins. Now, if you see in prokaryotic cell or an E. coli, again, how we have seen replication and transcription, the same way we are going to see for translation also. First, we are going to look into prokaryotic translation, and then we move on to what is the slight difference in a eukaryotic translation. Now, protein synthesis, the machinery what is used for protein synthesis in a cell or in a prokaryotic cell accounts to 90% of the chemical energy used by the cell for all biosynthetic reactions. So if you calculate the entire energy required for all the biosynthetic reactions to take place, 90% of that total energy is accounted for the protein synthesis. And if you look into the machineries required or the things what is required, so the last paragraph gives you an account of bacterial cells or cell or prokaryotic cells. So you require almost like 15,000 ribosomes, almost 1 lakh molecule of proteins, which are nothing but protein synthesis related protein factors, enzymes. You require almost 2 lakh tRNA molecules. All these total make up to 35% of that cell dry weight. So that much amount is required for protein synthesis. Okay, now to just give you certain hints as to how this protein synthesis, knowledge of protein synthesis, what we have right now advanced. So the first advancement, or how this the entire process was clear, the first advancement was the site of protein synthesis. So scientists had lot of research done to find out where is this protein synthesis actually taking place. It takes place in the cytosol, okay, and endoplasmic reticulum. On that you have these ribosomes, these ribosomes are actually the site for protein synthesis. We will not go into the detail as to how they came up with the knowledge, etc. I've just given here or quoted the first 3 advances what led to the present knowledge of protein synthesis. So this was a first advance, that is site for protein synthesis. Second advance was formation of amino acyl tRNA. So tRNA, transfer RNA, is the one which is going to pick up the right amino acid and bring to the site of protein synthesis. This is done by formation of an amino acyl tRNA. So the that we will look into this in detail later on, but this is the second advancement. tRNA is going to get bound to the respective amino acid and get it to the site of protein synthesis. The third advancement is tRNA acting as an adapter. So this tRNA is bringing in the correct amino acid, but how and how it gets bound to the mRNA, etc. So that is, the tRNA is acting as an adapter. So to just give you a hint, because later on we are going to see this in detail, this part is the anticodon part, and the mRNA contains the codon, the three nucleotide is going to give you a nucleotide triplet which is known as a codon. So this codon is going to bind to a particular site in tRNA which is known as anticodon. Again, we will discuss this in coming slides. So these are the three advancements which led to the current knowledge of protein synthesis. Okay, let us look into the genetic code now, or what is known as codon. So now if you look the protein structure, the protein structure is nothing but the polymer of amino acid, and we know that there are 20 common amino acids which are present, which make up the proteins found in our body. A sequence of 3 nucleotide which is actually used to code each amino acid. These 3 nucleotide triplet which is known as is called the codon. Okay. For example, you have AUG, that is nucleotide adenine containing nitrogen base adenine, uracil and guanine. So you have an AMP bound to UMP bound to GMP. So this is going to form a phosphodiester linkage, and this 3 triplet AUG is going to code for a specific amino acid, and that specific amino acid is methionine. Okay, and this codon is going to initiate or start with the protein synthesis, and hence this codon is known as start codon. So what is codon? Codon is nothing but triplet, each triplet of nucleotides, that is these 3 triplets is known as 3 nucleotide together is known as codon. Okay, so then the same way you will have UAA, UAG, UGA and various other combinations. Okay, so start codon is, or the protein synthesis starts with the codon which is AUG, and the protein synthesis is going to stop with these 3 codons. So these 3 codons, that is UAA, UAG and UGA. These are the codons which are not going to code for any amino acid. Therefore, these are known as stop codon, nonsense codon. Okay. So these, the moment the mRNA where these codons are found, the protein synthesis stops at this position. Okay, so they act as stop signal in protein synthesis. Now, how many codons can be or is present in a genetic code? Now, to find out this number, we should know that these codons are actually made up of what? U, A, G, C, right? So how many nitrogenous base we have? We have 4. A, U, G and C. So those 4, okay, these 4 nitrogenous base can give you a permutation and combination of how many codons. So you have 4 nitrogenous base, but a codon is a mixture of 3 nucleotides. So it's a triplet. So we can have this 4 nitrogenous base raised to 3, that is equal to 64. So 4 nitrogenous base nucleotides can give, if given in a combination of triplet, you can have permutation and combination of 64 such triplets. Okay, so that number came from 4 raised to 3. So 64 codons is possible by these 4 nucleotides. Okay, so if you look at this number, 64 codon, but how many amino acid do we have? Only 20. So for 20 amino acid, having 64 codon means it's more than what is required. Okay, even more than the double. So from this itself, we can guess that one amino acid may be coded by more than one codon. Okay. So several different codons can code for same amino acid, but no codon has or ever has more than one amino acid counterpart. This statement is very important. Different codons can code for one single amino acid. Okay, But remember that you will not find any codon which is going to code for more than one amino acid. Okay, this is known as regeneracy of the genetic code. You will find more than one codons coding for one amino acid, but none of the codon will code for more than one amino acid. Otherwise, you will find that different types of proteins are formed from same gene. Okay, so this statement is very important. Just remember this. Okay, and codons are always written in the form of RNA transcript. So you will find U in the genetic code, not T. Okay, but the RNA transcript comes from the original DNA molecule. Now this is the entire set of those 64 codons. So it's simple to make these combinations. So you write 4 nucleotides or nitrogenous base at the first position. So U, C, A and G here. This is the second position. So you can have U, C, A and G in the second place also. And in the last place, you can have again these combination of any of these 4. Okay. So first codon, if you see, it's U, U and U. So all the 3 are U. Then you have U, U, and the third one is here, that's C. Okay, so in this fashion you can make the triplets, which is different types, that is of 64 codons you can find. Okay, so this slide will give you which are the codons which is going to code for which amino acid. So you will find that phenylalanine is coded by 2 codons, that is UUU and UUC. Again, don't by heart the entire set. You just have to remember the start codon, that is what is the code for methionine and what is the start codon. It's the same. AUG is a codon or code which codes for methionine, and it is also the start codon. So initiation or beginning of protein synthesis happens with AUG. Okay. Similarly, if you see here, GUU, GUC, GUA, GUG. These are the 4 codons which is coding just for one amino acid, that is valine. So you can have one codon for a particular amino acid, or you will find 4 codons coding for a particular amino acid. Okay. So if you see a methionine, it is coded by only just one codon. But valine, there are 4 codons. Alanine, there are 4 codons. Okay, asparagine, there are 2 codons. Threonine, 4 codons. So there could be 4 codons coding for one amino acid, or you can have just one codon which is coding for one particular amino acid. So this is how you get that all 64, but they are coding only for 20 amino acid. Okay, so AUG you have to remember, and then what you have to remember is these stop codons, that is UAA, UAG and UGA. So these 4 codons you need to know by heart. Coming to characteristic of genetic codon or genetic code, first characteristic is these codes are universal. So if you find or if you go for any organism, any living organism, these codes are same. So you will find AUG coding for methionine in all the organisms. Okay, you will find GUU coding for valine in all the organisms. Okay, there are just few exceptions for this, like for example, AUA is the codon for methionine in mitochondria, but it is true for all the organisms. So in the cytosol, you will find AUG, which is coding for methionine, but in mitochondria, you will find it is not AUG, but it is AUA. Okay. So with few exception, the codons or genetic code is universal. So it's same for all organisms. Next is specificity. A particular codon always codes for the same amino acid. So you will not find that in one case it is coding for some a particular amino acid, and in other case or in another organism it is something else. So this is a specific one. A particular codon is always going to code for the same amino acid. Okay. Third characteristic, the genetic code is non-overlapping. Like if you see the sequence present in the mRNA, okay, if this is the sequence, it is read from 5' to 3' okay, and you start beginning the reading from the start codon AUG. So suppose if this is a sequence given, there is a beginning from this AUA, then the second codon will be CGA, and the third would be the next 3, and the fourth will be the next 4. So it's a non-overlapping reading. Okay, so for example, here the overlapping is given. AUA is the first codon, and then you begin with a second nitrogenous base which is given, UAC, then ACG. So this is the characteristic of genetic codon is not overlapping, it's non-overlapping. So the first 3 codon and the next 3 would be the second codon, and the next 3 would be the third codon. So you will not find the codes which are overlapping. Okay, so it's read in a continuous way and non-overlapping without any comma or punctuation. Okay, so suppose if you have some mutation which is going to replace one of the uracil, suppose uracil is replaced by adenine nucleotide, what will happen? The codon is going to change. Okay, AUA tha pehle, now it becomes AAA, which is going to code for some different protein or amino acid rather. So the protein which is formed would have one amino acid which is different. Okay, so we will come to this disorder, okay, later on when we look into the translation. So that is one disorder which can be encountered because of what is known as frame shift mutation. If there is an addition or deletion of one particular base or 2 base, what will happen is the reading of the genetic code will be not the same. So it is going to code or the protein which is synthesized will not be the exactly same which it originally had to be. Okay, then so translation, the nucleotide triplets are read in successive non-overlapping fashion, and the specific first codon establishes the reading frame. Okay, the specific first codon would be our AUG, that is the start codon. Now this I have already told you, that is the fourth characteristic of genetic code is degenerate or redundancy. That is, most of the amino acid have more than one codon. Okay, so you can have more than one codon coding for a particular amino acid, but none of the codon will code for 2 different amino acid. Okay, this is the meaning of the degeneracy. Okay, so for example, glycine has 4 codon, but you will not find any codon, one codon which is coding for 2 different or more than one amino acid. Okay, so this is a slide which gives you amino acid and the number of codon it has. Okay, so if you see, arginine has 6 codon, leucine has 6, serine has 6, whereas glycine, proline, threonine, valine have 4 codon. Okay, whereas methionine, tryptophan, asparagine, tryptophan and methionine just has 1. Asparagine and aspartate has 2. Okay. Now coming to codon and anticodon recognition. Now I think I'll directly go to this slide to make you understand about anticodon and codon pairing. Now anticodon, that is the complementary of codon, it is present on the tRNA. Okay, so what is tRNA? tRNA is clover shaped RNA, which is transfer RNA, which is going to transfer or bring the amino acid to the protein synthesis site. Now, mRNA is read from 5' to 3'N. So when you read the codon, the first codon or first base is here in this case, you number it from 5' to 3'N. So the numbering is 1, 2, 3. Now if you see the tRNA, the tRNA is in this direction. If you look here, 3' to 5' is the direction here shown. But always the codon or any base is read from 5' to 3'. So when we read the anticodon present on the tRNA, we will find this as 1. So what is going to pair with the third base of the codon will be numbered as 1 in anticodon, second pairs with second, and third pairs with the first base of the codon. I hope this is clear. Is this part clear to everyone?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Okay. So here the tRNA is, if you just remember that mRNA and tRNA is antiparallel. Okay. But reading of the codons, we do it from 5' to 3' only. So that is why you will find, or when you read also, you will see that the first base pair of the codon pairs with the third of the anticodon, second with second, and third of the codon pairs with the first of the anticodon. Okay. So this is just because they are anti-parallel. Okay. Now, why the question could be why a particular like an amino acid arginine, it had 6 codons, or 6 codons is going to code for just one single amino acid. Okay, so how does that happen? So if you see again for tRNAs, we don't have 64 tRNAs which is going to recognize the 64 codon. There are only 30, almost 32 tRNAs which are going to bring in the required amino acid. Okay, so these 32 tRNAs are going to recognize the 64 codons. So how that is possible? That is possible by Wobble hypothesis. This is known as Wobble hypothesis because there is one thing which is going on at the first position of the anticodon. What is present on the first position of the anticodon which binds to the, or which base pairs with the third base of the codon is going to decide how many codons that particular tRNA can read. Okay, we know that, yeah, we know that what are the common base pairing which happens. That is C binds with G, or C base pairs with G, A base pairs with U, U with A, and G with C. Okay, but you will find that the first position of the anticodon is slightly flexible, and it is able to base pair with unconventional, other than the conventional base also. It shows me 10 minutes remaining. You can start putting your roll numbers. I will give you another link for joining once this end. Okay, so the first position here, you will find that it is slightly flexible and it can base pair with other nitrogenous base also. Okay, so look here, this slide. If you have C in the, I'm talking about the first position of anticodon, which is going to base pair with the third position of codon. Okay, I hope this is clear. So if you have C in the anticodon, the first position of anticodon, that is going to base pair with only G. And if you have A, it is going to base pair with only U. So these are the tRNAs bringing in amino acid which is coded only by one uh, codon. Okay. Now, if you look at the second codon, you will find that, look, if you have U, if there is U in the first position of anticodon, this U is able to base pair with A also and G also. Okay. And if you have G in the first position of anticodon, it base pairs with C also and U also. That means these are the tRNA which can base pair if there is if the third position of the codon has A also and G also. The same tRNA, that same anticodon is going to bind with two particular codons. So that is X, Y, X, A होगा तो भी code bind होगा, and X, Y, G होगा तो भी bind होगा. So if you have U in the first position of anticodon, it is able to base pair with A also and G also. Okay, so these are the tRNAs which is bringing in amino acid which is coded by two codons. Okay, and the third one is if there is inosine in the first position of the anticodon. So if there is inosine, this is not a common new base, nitrogenous base which is found in the RNA or DNA, right? So if there is inosine in the anticodon, the first position, it is able to base pair with all the three, that is A, U, and C. Okay, so this is the tRNA which can recognize all the three types of codon. Okay, so this is how you have different codon but coding for the same amino acid. Give me a minute. So have you understood this part? How Wobble hypothesis happens, or more than two codons are going to code for a single amino acid. Okay, this is known as Wobble hypothesis. So it is decided by the nitrogenous base which is present at the first position of anticodon. Okay, so if it is C and A, you have only one codons with which it binds. If you have U or G, they are able to base pair with two more codons. And if it is I, you will find that three types of codon can be base pair. Okay, now coming to mutation, what is and punctuation. Okay, and it's not overlapping, so it's non-overlapping. So mutation results in change of nucleotide sequence in DNA, and the same is copied into the RNA. What happens is ultimate effect of mutation is on translation through alteration of codon. Best example is sickle cell anemia, where CTC, there's a one nucleotide or single base alteration where CTC is changed to CAC in the DNA. So what happens in the RNA is GAG is now replaced by or changed to GUG. Okay, GAG codon is going to code for glutamine, whereas GUG is going to be coded for valine. So what happens here in protein synthesis of hemoglobin is the glutamate at the 6th position of beta chain of hemoglobin is replaced by valine. Why? because the codon is now changed because of mutation, single base alteration. Okay, so this type of mutation is known as frame shift mutation. Uh, no, this is not known as frame shift mutation. This is just an alteration which is happening, which is going to give rise to some change in the protein. Now, frame shift mutation is caused by either addition or insertion of nucleotide. So what happens if in between a nitrogenous base is deleted or added? So what happens? The entire frame or the genetic code, the way it is read is changed. So there is frame shift mutation if there is a base pair which is added or deleted. Whereas in sickle cell anemia, there is a base pair alteration, single base alteration. So instead of T, A is there in DNA, and because of which A is changed to U in the RNA. Okay, whereas frame shift mutation happens when there is an addition or deletion of the nucleotide. So if you remove one or add a particular nitrogenous base, what happens? The frame, which is when you read a genetic code, the frame entirely shifts because there is either there is an addition of one base or removal of a base. Okay, so the reading or the frame is shifted, and that is known as frame shift mutation. Okay, as the reading frame of mRNA is continuous, codons are read in continuation and amino acid is added. So if there is an addition or deletion of the base pair, the frame shifts. Okay, so this is known as frame shift mutation. Now we begin with the translation. Before we begin with the actual process, we should also know certain requirements of translation. So once transcription is done, that is mRNA is synthesized in the nucleus, the mRNA comes out of the nucleus from the nuclear core, and it goes and binds to the ribosome, which is the site for translation or protein synthesis. Now ribosomes are the one which synthesize or helps in the synthesis of proteins by reading the coding sequence present on mRNA. Okay, and the mRNA is read in triplets of nucleotides, which are known as codons. Okay, now these are the requirement or components for protein synthesis. First step or stage is amino acid activation. The amino acid required, which is brought into the site of protein synthesis, are activated. Then initiation, elongation, termination, and after termination, the protein which is synthesized need to undergo processing to convert it into an active form. Okay, the remaining part we will see in the next meeting.